You can support this podcast at patreon.com/partnersincrimemedia.
I'm Rebecca Lavoie, and this is Crime Writers On. Crime Writers On is the original true crime review podcast that digs into true crime, pop culture, other podcasts. And on this episode, a woman finds herself drawn into a new friend group, one filled with skeet shooting, sexual seduction, and murder. We'll review the Netflix hit series, The Hunting Wives. Joining me to get that done and more is true crime author, TV journalist, and host of These Are Their Stories podcast, my husband and love of my life, Kevin Flynn. Hello, Kevin.
Hello, my hunting wife.
You look like a referee today, Kevin. It's very cute.
Oh, that's great. That's a funny audio podcast joke.
Also with us is private investigator, certified pet detective, resident cat lady, and author of The Final Curtain, Laura Bricker. Hi, Laura.
Hey, Rebecca.
And finally, our captain of all things cynical, author of the City trilogy of novels, host of Strange Arrivals, Rip Current, and our Patreon Deep Dive Book Club podcast, Toby Ball. Hi, Toby.
Hey, Rebecca.
So, Kevin?
Yeah.
What's coming up on future editions of Crime Writers On?
Yeah, so on the next week's show, we're going to talk about the HBO mystery, The Yogurt Shop Murders.
All right, looking forward to that conversation. I hear lots of people talking about it in our Facebook group, which, by the way, you can join if you want. Super easy to find.
It's on Facebook.
It is. Just find our page, and there's a link there to join the group. So, Kevin,
Do you want to give a plug to one thing before we move on?
Sure.
Speaking of Facebook, because we're getting close to back to school.
Yep.
Some people have already gone back. We've got a lot of teachers, and they always need stuff. So, Rebecca, tell everybody about what you've been doing.
Yeah, there's a link on our Facebook group, a thread, where I've invited teachers who are listeners and who are in our group to go ahead and post their wish lists for their classrooms. You might not know this if you're not in education, but teachers do not get money for stuff for their classrooms. A lot of that stuff they have to buy themselves, and so they create wish lists on sites like Amazon so that other folks can help them out. So all these teachers have posted their lists, and I heartily encourage you to go buy something for a teacher. There's lots of stuff on there that's like $8. So it's not hard to help a teacher out, especially a teacher who loves the show just as much, if not more, than you do. All right, Kevin, a lot of people are talking about the thing we're about to talk about, so I'd like to get to it. What do you think?
Let's do that.
Leading off.
So, what do you guys do for work?
Work?
We don't work, we wife.
Leaving their troubled past in New England behind, Sophie O'Neil's family moves to Texas, where she's invited into a friend circle of rich wives. The bougie ladies enjoy couture fashion, boozy brunches, and shooting rifles in the woods. Sophie's connection to group leader Margo Banks grows intense, stirring something more than friendship.
I just hope I didn't put you in a weird spot.
Oh, nothing's weird, darling. We have an arrangement.
Like an open marriage.
No. Open marriages are for liberals. We just keep it simple. I don't sleep with other men, and doesn't I see a girl we like, we go for it.
As Margo's oil magnate husband plans to run for governor, the sheriff is dealing with two violent crimes. Sophie's secret life becomes entwined in a murder investigation. As the walls close in, Sophie finds she's not the only one willing to hide their secrets.
Buy you a cup of coffee. I just want to know what you make of them.
I don't talk about my friends.
They are not your friends. You have no idea what these fucking people are capable of.
The buzzy Netflix series The Hunting Wives stars Brittany Snow, Malin Åkerman, and Dermot Mulroney. It attempts to mix scandal, suspense, and obsession, all while serving up a soapy mystery and a lot of skin. Spoiler alert, we're going to be talking about plot points from The Hunting Wives. So if you want to remain spoiler-free, go to the estimated time code in our show notes for our thumbs up or thumbs down reviews. So, Laura?
Yes.
This takes place in a Texas that a lot of people in the North think Texas is like. Thoughts?
Yeah, this is like a stereotype of Texas. I'm like, oh, look, we've got all these like heavily made up, dyed hair wives going to NRA fundraisers, drinking all day where their husbands are out trying to get rid of the illegals that are coming from Mexico. I don't know. That was like not really a Texas accent, but like basically it was like, that's like
Really?
basically what the stereotype of I know, that was just what I made up. That's basically like this show. I'm like, okay, Texas to me is always kind of like a character. Like we have a lot of Texas crime. We have Texas Monthly has a lot of really good true crime. There's true crime book writers that specifically write crimes about Texas. But I think in this day and age, in the political climate that we're in, this is the Texas that a lot of people think in their mind, if they don't live in Texas, is the Texas that is existing right now, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So, Toby, this is a very heightened show, right? Like, it's got a lot of silliness. It's got a lot of exaggeration. It's got a lot of sex. When you're watching something like this, are you thinking about it through like a critical lens, or are you like, this is just silly, I don't know what to think?
I usually start off trying to figure out like how to talk about it, but it is just kind of silly, to be quite honest. I mean, I think there's a few things you can kind of pick at and maybe come to some conclusions, but for the most part, I mean, it's kind of like critiquing a Scooby-Doo episode or something. I mean, it's very light. It's an escapist watch. It's like the equivalent of a beach read or something. So
yeah,
poking holes in the plot or like talking about how the characters aren't realistic or whatever just seems to me to be completely beside the point. So it really kind of comes down to, do you find it entertaining enough to keep watching? And, I kind of did. I thought this was like,
I'm so surprised by this.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty fun.
I thought Toby was going to hate it.
Yeah. Kevin, this actually was a beach read, right?
Well, yeah, I guess it was a book from the not too distant past. Now, to pick up where Laura was talking here about setting, like I know this, was not, created in the past couple of months, but there is something timely of sort of about leaning into the conservative bona fides of a place like Texas and life in Texas. And they're not trying to be anti-woke just because they like guns or pro-life or whatever, but it is pretty clear that they're just kind of scapegoating the indocumentados or whatever they said. But it's kind of like meeting characters where they are here in this setting as opposed to ridiculing that. And so it doesn't go overboard and showing that Sophie's a fish out of water, but it doesn't make it preachy about the fact that maybe these people here do not share your views about gun safety and about abortion and about some of these other things here. So it kind of demands that you meet the characters where they are, and it might also be in service of explaining later on why abortion is a motive for murder.
Yeah. What's interesting to me about this show, one of the few things that are interesting to me about it, is that I think it's a huge mistake to just never look at, talk to, consider whether people can be considered like decent people if they feel differently than you on certain political issues that are based in a certain logic, right? So there are some political issues that are not based in logic, they're just based in hate. There's a lot of them like that. Like, I'm not saying that that's not true, okay? But there are other political issues, like when I've talked to anti-abortion people at times, like they have a logic to why they feel that way, right? They think it's murder. They have strong opinions about it. Gun people think that's a right. It's like a fundamental, some gun people do. Others are just love guns. But like, there's definitely a certain logic. And very often I'll talk to people who are conservative or have values that I can't relate to in some way. And I'm like, you know what? I really like this person. We clearly, there's certain things we're never going to agree about. We can't talk about. And I like what this show does with that. I like it that Brittany Snow's character kind of comes in and you're sort of expecting her to be a dick to all these people. And she kind of immediately sees that this could be a potential space for her to be social. And it's not particularly begrudging. I mean, in part, it has to do with the fact that she apparently immediately falls in love with this 7-foot tall woman that she's like looking at her belly button the whole time. I did, by the way, I think Brittany Snow is really great. I love Malin Åkerman, but like the height difference between the two of them was ridiculous. Like if you had a man and a woman with that height difference, that's all you'd be thinking about when you watch the thing. And that's what this is like. It's like watching Colin Powell and Sydney Sweeney in a thing. It's like ridiculous, their height difference. Anyway, so that was one thing that I liked about it. And I found myself surprised that it took that tack. Again, we sometimes see some people say things that were just awful, but I do think you do have to humanize people with all sorts of views in the media because they are human beings after all. So Laura, I just said that I like Brittany Snow as an actor. How did you feel about Sophie, the character?
So it's interesting that you liked the way that she came in and seemed more open-minded and like adopted this group and kind of got into this friend group. I found that such a stretch because she comes in at first and they're very clearly like East Coast liberals, though. One thing I thought was interesting, her husband seems like kind of a dick in the beginning.
Yeah.
Wait, you're going hunting?
Yeah, they were so excited about me going, and so I just didn't know how to say no.
Yeah, I don't love the idea of you in the woods with a GUN and a bunch of drunk people.
I don't think they're going to be drinking, and I'm obviously not going to be drinking.
What if you Dick Cheney someone?
What if I'm a crack shot? Or what if I like it?
And I'm like, okay, so you've got the East Coast liberals. So you think these are the people that, oh, we're going to be conscious of our feelings. And he's a dick. And then you've got the Texas people that you want to stereotype and be like, they're going to be dicks to their wives because they're misogynistic. And they're all like super nice to their wives and super appreciative and super love them.
Except
and
the preacher. He's a dick to his wife.
Yeah, he's a dick. So that part was interesting. But what I found like was a bit of a jump was that like Sophie comes in and the first thing is they go to this like party that turns out to be this NRA fundraiser. And she's like, oh, guns. And then the next thing you know, she's like, oh yeah, I'm just going to go off on this boat and go to this like place with this woman and just go off the rails. It felt to me like the way that they set her up, she was so malleable in the way that she just immediately was like, yeah, oh, I haven't been drinking. I haven't been doing all this stuff. Sure, I'm going to just go off and sweet. But then in the end, I was like, okay, because I was getting irritated. I'm like, she had no personality of her own. She's just going to adopt this group. And at the end, I was like, actually, I think she actually all along was more inclined to be with women.
Yeah.
And that had been squashed.
Yeah.
And that she's now in a culture where you would think it wouldn't be okay, that it would be judged.
Oh, but they're all doing it.
But they're all doing it, which is so wild because immediately you're thinking, okay, these people that are more right-wing, we don't like gay people, we don't like this, but they're like, sweet, we all are going to have threesomes and we're going to peg each other and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
All right. But yeah, so Sophie's character was it was frustrating to me, but also in the end, I was like, I could see it.
Can I just speak to the Graham thing? Because I picked up on that too. And it kind of bothered me. I liked at the beginning that we're supposed to think these are the people like us. Like that's how Netflix kind of sets it up. But then you sort of immediately realize he's a Tesla driver who talks about the fact that he went to Harvard all the time. Mm-hmm. And he initially seems kind of controlling about Sophie. Yes. You kind of get the impression that he won't let her drive.
Right.
Turns out not to be true. It turns out he's just like wants to help her move on and is just like, okay, just don't drink because last time you did, you killed some people. Like, so, you know, it's, and I just thought that inconsistency was troubling because you've got to pick one. He's either got to be nice or a dick, but they kind of made him weirdly both. And there was just a switch that flipped and we never understood why.
Yeah. And then at the end, you're like, oh, now we see him when he's having his little party and they met and she had purple hair and he invited her to the party. And we're like, oh, he's nice.
Yeah. So, Toby, there is a tremendous amount of sex, explicit sex in this show. I personally didn't find the sex particularly alluring or sexy, but it's not vanilla for the most part, right?
Yeah, I mean, the only people who have like sort of church-approved heterosexual one-on-one sex, I think, are the teenagers, and that's why they shouldn't be having it. But everything else is... It's gay sex.
It's what, Toby?
It's pegging.
What is it?
It's menage a trois. It's grown women having sex with 17-year-old boys. All the sex is like whatever, but it certainly seems as though there's like this portrayal of these sort of church-going people as being hypocritical, as being, you know, we kind of show up, but then when we're not at church, we fucking do all this crazy shit.
And party and drink a lot.
And that the only people who seem genuinely kind of devout is the murdered girl's mom, who everybody just shits on, and then she gets murdered. And that's really bad. And her daughter, who like, I guess is kind of fighting the battle between the things. But even like the people who are sort of church authorities, one of them's just a flaming prick, and the other one is this sort of pedophilic serial kidnapper who the implication is he had some troubles in Louisiana with kids, so they shipped him to Texas and kept him as a youth pastor. So I think they think they're exposing hypocrisies maybe on both sides in that, again, when you're talking about Graham and that he's not necessarily the feminist ideal husband that you would look for. At the same time, I think we're meant to be like, oh, what an uptight jerk when she like doesn't come home like on multiple nights where she like wakes up
calling
on a dock, you know, she hasn't called. He's got the kid and he's like, you know, maybe you could have sent me a text or something. What do you want me to do?
Yeah. I think the only supportive feminist husband in this whole thing was the sheriff, honestly. Like he was like listening to his wife. He was like sexually available to his wife. Kevin, what did you think about the way that sex is portrayed and the way that, you know, gender issues are portrayed in this?
I mean, mostly this, I thought that the sex was, like you said, wasn't very sexy, and I didn't think there was an overabundance of sex scenes.
Can I just add one thing to that? It's not because of the type of sex I thought it wasn't sexy. There was just something about it that was clinical and
it didn't
weird.
click. Yeah,
exactly,
I mean, we've seen a lot of sensual stuff.
It was manipulative.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've read things like people were like talking about whether or not this is queer positive or not. I'm not certain. I mean, I'm not the expert on that, but just sort of like looking at it, Margo feels more like a manipulator. So the seduction of Sophie feels more like a con and not a romance. And I guess Sophie's supposed to be obsessed or growing obsessed with Margo, and they try to do that. I don't know if they like really... That part doesn't sing for me. But it reminded me, because if I did have sort of one quibble with season 1 of Killing Eve, which is excellent, is that it wasn't until the end where we kind of get that Eve's obsession with Villanelle, that there's a sexual component to it, right? Because, like, wait a minute, she's a straight married person, which, of course, doesn't mean that she's not bi or where the character can be written any way they want, but to the audience, it didn't seem coherent. It came a little bit out of, I don't want to say out of right field, but like, okay. And then it's, set up the rest of the series. So for Sophie, it was kind of like, well, wait a minute. In the end, it was, she had a drunken night with her college roommate and it was hot, but she doesn't want to do it anymore. And that's sort of, I didn't quite understand the sexual motivation, I think is what I'm saying.
Margo's hot.
Margo's hot, and I can see why men, I can see why women want to
Callie's
get with her.
hot too.
Yeah.
Jelly,
and I would just, one thing about the pegging scene.
Yeah.
I'll just say.
They didn't need the two fingers.
Did you... It wasn't the fingers. She took off the purple strap on?
Yeah, but she
it
was
had
also...
to be super...
She was also...
Oh, she was the reach around? Okay. I was hard
something.
to tell.
They were under a blanket.
Yeah, it was, she was enforcing, him being a catcher, right? But I wonder if people sort of object to the idea that they had to sort of tease earlier on that maybe the sheriff's gay because he had like some sort of thing with the deputy there. Because like then an implication is that only gay men enjoy that kind of sex, which it's not my thing, but I get why, straight guys like to have their prostate massaged too, right? So
what is your thing, Kevin? Can we explore this?
We're segueing into Married with Podcast right
There
now.
you go.
He's more of a bestiality guy than a pegging recipient.
Yeah. Who wouldn't want to be a billionaire oil magnate who gets to have two topless women jerk him off in the hot tub while his wife comes home? There's the life.
That's right. That's right.
There's the life, folks. Yeah.
Hey,
I'm going to run for governor. That made a lot of sense. We can talk about that later.
We're never going to subject you to uncomfortable sexual content on Patreon.
Oh, no?
Oh, yeah, we will actually.
You don't think so?
We actually do sometimes on Married with Podcast.
Yeah.
Married with Podcast, we give sex advice sometimes. It gets pretty wild.
Yeah. Though if you want to hear any of that, you go to patreon.com/Partners in Crime Media, and you'll get all sorts of exclusive content, the Crime Writers on After Show. Married with Podcast, as Rebecca said, I was going to mention that one of the listeners had problems because her husband has a lead foot, but there's another listener that wrote in and she's having problems because she has vaginal dryness, which is not a lead foot.
No.
But Rebecca had all sorts of advice, and I just
sat there.
Nodded my head. With that, Toby Ball also has the Deep Dive Book Club podcast. Toby, on the last episode, you had Meredith Constant, Josh Eaton, and Elise McGovern. What book did you talk about?
We talked about Some People Need Killing by Patricia Evangelista, about the violence in the Philippines under President Rodrigo Duterte.
And tell us about the book that everyone should be boning up on right now, because it's going to be the next episode.
They should be boning up on The Adversary by Emmanuel Carrere. And I would tell you more about it, but I haven't started it yet.
Okay.
You haven't boned up on it yet.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
Getting ready to bone up on it.
Rebecca continues looking into the Karen Reed saga in the Readathon. And in the last episode, DA Mike Morrissey had a bunch of his personal emails released through a FOIA request, Freedom of Information Act request.
Yes.
And it uncovered some really juicy stuff. We also have Laura Bricker's Leave It to Bricker podcast, and Laura is talking about the Summer of Bricker, parts 1, 2, and 3. And you've been teasing the peppermint patty caper, but you have raised a white flag on that, right?
I have raised a white flag. I may be a private investigator in my day job. I find people all over the place. The peppermint patty policeman of Exeter has gone underground and refuses to answer my messages.
Oh.
So he might have finally just reached a point where he's like, this is stupid and embarrassing and I don't want any more attention. But either way, I am moving on to bigger adventures.
Huh.
Fantastic. Other ways you can support us is going to our Amazon storefront where you can see some of our favorite things. Rebecca, what are this week's Amazon recommendations?
Well, Kevin, I have a couple of dresses that are a little too big for me, and I was like, I need a belt. So I bought a big, stretchy, wide, cute belt on Amazon. They've got tons of them there. So much selection. So much.
All right. Not a big swing, but a belt. We love it.
I did my best.
Toby, what are your listener-inspired Toby Ball's deep cut recommendations?
Well, I was hoping someone could explain this to me. Bumble and Bumble Seaweed Air Dry Cream, 2 fluid ounces.
I know what that is.
For vaginal dryness.
That's a hair product. Bumble and Bumble is a great hair product company.
For vaginal dryness.
I use their leave-in conditioner and oil like styling cream. It is so great. Their stuff is fan-freaking-tastic, Bumble and Bumble.
Wow.
And that's just a hair product to let you put it in so if you're going to air dry your curly hair.
So they can please send us a few $100 Bumble and Bumble for that little unpaid endorsement. And then next I have the ZPU FAW 6-piece cocktail shaker set, 24-ounce shaker, strainer, mutter, jigger, mixing spoon, pour, spout, bartender kit, stainless steel bar set, housewarming gift.
Wow.
Yep.
A housewarming gift.
What
Okay.
a housewarming gift.
Yeah, this is pretty nice.
Fantastic. You can get all of that by shopping us first when you go to Amazon, because we know you shop there. Go to Amazon.com and go /shop/Crime Writers On. We earn commissions on qualified purchases.
All right, Kevin. Before we end the business section, do we have any Patreon patron saints of the week this week?
Our Patreon patron saints are Danny Spetar and Jennifer Powell.
Oh.
Bless you.
Bless you, Danny. Bless you, Jennifer. We so appreciate your support, and we can't make this show without Patreon supporters like you. So if you like this show and you want it to continue to go on, you might want to consider getting all of the additional content we have behind our paywall on Patreon. It's only $5 or $6 a month. Just get in there and you can listen to hundreds of past episodes. Right, Kevin?
Right.
All right. Does that end our business section?
Thus ends the business section.
Let's go ahead and fade that music out. So, Laura, what did you think about this dynamic? We have this mother star who is basically shunned by the popular girls in church and in town. And obviously they're not as moneyed as the other people. They're, they're living in sort of like it's supposed to be portrayed as like the wrong side of the tracks kind of neighborhood.
It kind of looks like a double wide, but a little bit bigger, maybe.
Yeah. So, Laura, what did you think about this? Obviously Abby gets murdered. Her mother stars, becomes a character in the show. And then we sort of see this juxtaposition. What did you think? Did that work?
So I'm going to say, like in our last review last week when we were talking about Smoke and we were talking about how they made the one really bizarre arsonist black, I'm like, okay, so they make the poor mom, the overweight lady living on the wrong side of the tracks. Like, seriously?
Never wake a sleeping baby. Oh, but when she started walking and talking, she'd just walk up to total strangers just to say hi, make friends everywhere she went. I mean, I was always her bestie. It was always me and her. Until she met Brad Thompson. I tried not to take it personal.
I didn't love that because this is an actress who has been in This Is Us, somebody that has chops in the acting world, and I felt like it was kind of a cheap stereotype to resort to. She's somebody that's a very valid character. She's somebody that really pretty quickly figures out what is going on. She's looking out the window. She sees the fight between her daughter and the boyfriend in their, lime green Jeep. She knows something's amiss. She's trying to talk to her daughter. Daughter's like, I'm getting out of here because I'm not going to be like you because you can even buy a pair of boots. I didn't love that portrayal, but I loved the fact that this character is somebody that does appear later on sort of advocating for the truth with the female detective who was shot, who's now going around with her cane kind of on light duty and ends up forming this connection with her to be like, hey, I think there's more going on. It made me sad. It made me sad at the way it was portrayed, but I, at the same time, was glad that there was a character that felt a little bit more realistic in the way that she was actually out like, okay, I'm not out shooting boars and having mimosas. I'm actually trying to figure out what happened to my daughter who was murdered.
Yeah, that actress's name is Chrissy Metz, and she was nominated for an Emmy for This Is Us. I didn't watch This Is Us, but I know people think it's fantastic. And the characters do have sort of like one bitchy dig at her for being overweight, but I really feel like she's kind of underutilized here because you're right, she does have chops, right? And so they could have given the character a little more depth as the grieving mother more than just randomly starting to cry when when I'm folding laundry or
so ridiculous.
There was one thing like at the funeral or the post funeral, everybody eating at the house is like, have some water.
The repast.
Yeah, it's just, I don't want water. I want justice. It's like you could have like really done something more for this actress, but you really didn't.
Yeah, I didn't like the wrong side of the tracks thing either. I think it's very, very overdone. And it would have been more interesting if she was a member of the group who then got shunned because she thought one of them killed her daughter. Like, that would have been more interesting to me. And she does get murdered in a really brutal way, which is kind of sad. It's kind of sad. So, Toby, I see you have a note about whether or not the real killer's reveal was predictable or not. I knew who it was the whole time, and I kept turning to Kevin and saying, it's Margo, right? Like, it's Margo, right? How did you think? Did you think it was a surprise that we got this reveal?
No, I mean, I was surprised that they kept doing all these fake outs, because the last time you see her, she's like marching off to Margo's house to confront her. It's like, well, what else is going to happen? It's either her boyfriend or it's Margo, and it wasn't her boyfriend, so it was Margo.
Abby found out. That's why she was in the woods that night. She was going to your house. She was going to confront you, to out you. Miss First Lady of fucking Texas who can't keep her dick in her pants and got knocked up by a high school student. So you killed her.
Again, like, this whole thing is just so campy, potentially campy enough where they could just throw somebody else in there and it just doesn't make any sense, but that's just the way it's going to happen. But, and they do a couple of like kind of head fakes to different of the women who are in that clique, but they don't really sort of commit to the bit, really. It sort of happens quickly and then they kind of move on. So I don't know. If you're shocked by the ending, you probably weren't paying attention during parts of it, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I never guess the endings of these things, and I had this thing nailed after,
the first episode.
Yeah, pretty quickly.
Well, the pool was pretty small. I mean, there's not a large cast of characters anyway, but if the thing is, whoever had access to Sophie's gun, and the gun was at the cabin where there were 4 people, then you have to like really contort what happened and really not play fair with the plot if it's going to be like,
I thought it was the wife,
the sheriff's wife. Yeah,
I was like, the sheriff's wife would be the logical other choice.
Because the shooting was bad, and she would have killed her on the first shot.
And then I was like, okay, the preacher's wife, she's a likely candidate, and then that was our red herring.
Yeah. Well, that came too soon for that to be the answer.
I mean, the surprise was when it turns out that Margo's the one who had the abortion and not Abby.
Yeah.
So I guess that was sort of surprise. But again, it's a campy, sort of soapy show. And I just, like, when we talked for last week about Smoke, I mean, I think Smoke is trying to play by certain rules that would just kind of govern real life and be realistic to a certain extent. This doesn't seem like it gives a shit about that at all.
Yeah.
And it does seem like, so one of the things, when I saw The Hunting Wives, can I digress for a second?
Sure.
In the 90s, I was working at Congressional Quarterly in a clip room. And so what we did is we got like 100 newspapers from around the country, and we would clip out articles about political stuff. And we had all these different lobbying firms and places that would buy our clip service. But of course, there's like these interesting stories that pop up every once in a while. So one of the interesting stories, which I thought might play a little bit into this plot, was in Texas, there was a guy, and I can't remember if he was running for office or not, because, it's been like 30 years, but he held what were called honey hunts. And what they were was they would get a whole bunch of prostitutes to run around his apparently huge ranch naked. And then the good old boys would go around on ATVs or golf carts and just kind of run them down and do their thing with them. And
Laura gasped 5 times.
Yeah. And so this is like covered, I think it was like covered in the Austin American Statesman or something.
I kind of remember this.
And so I was kind of like, when it's called
New
The
Patreon
Hunting
level?
Wives and stuff, and then they show that what I was like, oh shit, this is going to be like the honey hunts. But that never ends up happening.
Yeah.
But you did have that guy that came to the door naked.
I was going to just ask you about him, Laura. He was my favorite character on the show. I was so disappointed at the end of the show. Obviously, they're trying to set us up for a season 2, and he's not going to be in it.
He was a great character to keep in it, too.
He was fucking awesome. He was the only character. Every time he was on the screen, I was like, I love that guy. I love the way. I think that there's some depth there. There's like some interesting shit there. And his performance was fantastic. And his floppy wiener was not the reason why his performance was fantastic, but it was a great sight gag.
It was so fun because he was so oblivious to his floppy wiener because he thought people were out there. So he like immediately got her inside and was like looking out the windows, even though he's just like bare ass buck naked. And he had his little like 7-year-old haircut where it's like mohawk on the top and shaved on the sides.
And then he puts on his clothes. Then it's like rather than do it before you open the door, you wait, you open the door naked, and then when somebody comes in, then you put your clothes on.
Why does he need to get naked to smoke his crack?
Maybe he was feeling amorous with, who knows? Maybe he was into pegging. I don't know. But I love
maybe it was crack and not crystal meth.
I don't know.
But I also loved his character, Rebecca, because I liked the flashback when we first see her go out to the trailer to go talk to him. He's like, oh, you're like higher than us now or whatever. And then I think they did a good job with the show using the flashback scenes just enough to give you the backstory of the characters. I like the way that they dated the people when they did the back. So like when they did Margo's first one, you know, and you see her as a teenager with her little brother when they robbed that guy of his truck. And then you see the next one where she's got like kind of like blonde, kind of wavy hair. But you see them from the beginning, they're a pair. They're like the Bonnie and Clyde of brothers and sisters. And so when she goes back to him in the beginning, you're like, oh, this guy's crazy or whatever. But then the story starts to come out when Sophie goes out and is like, I'm going to be like Nancy Drew and solve what happened here because now I'm living in this shitty hotel and I don't want to sleep here.
And she takes the safe car, leaves her husband with the dangerous old ass car to drive the kid around.
She takes the fucking Tesla to go out with Margo's brother and go out and like do this like robbery. I'm like,
there was no charging station at that house.
No, there's a charging station in that town. I guarantee fucking.
By the way, why isn't she taking the Tesla? Right, because it auto drives. If she's like if they're afraid she's gonna get drunk, just like punch in the mall.
Like, boop, boop, boop. Here, she doesn't need to drive this; it can drive itself.
Yeah,
come on back home.
But I was actually really sad when I found out when they start to lay out that particular line of the story where it's like, oh, okay, so he actually went out to help her. Their father is a doctor in this little town. They were the illegitimate children of this woman who, I don't know what her situation was, who lived out in the trailer park. But the brother is always going to be there for the sister. So originally you're set up to be, again, stereotypes. We're set up to think we're going to hate this guy because he's a meth head living in a trailer park.
Loved him.
And then you're like, no, he's loyal as fuck. He's still looking out for his sister. He's actually kind of funny. You know, when they go out and then she runs him over, I was like, no,
I was so sad.
I'm like, no. So I actually felt like he was one of the more relatable characters. Some of these characters were just so fantastical in terms of like being caricatures of Texas people. Like he's like, okay, I'm like, that's probably somebody whose house I'm going to go knock on as a PI someday.
Yeah. Kevin?
Yeah.
2 subplots in the show. Did they work? One of them is Jed, Margo's husband, running for governor out of nowhere. And the other one is that there is a long-term kidnapping that Salazar was trying to solve when she ended up getting shot.
Okay. All right. So the political logic of this series is completely fucked, right? So Jed is going to, after like kind of flirting with the idea, where does he decide to make his big political announcement? Spur of the moment at a candlelight vigil for a dead girl.
Yeah.
Like, that's going to get a lot of press coverage, right? He's so sanctimonious about family values and abortion, but they're still going to go swinging and get jerked off in a hot tub by 2 topless women.
Yes.
This guy is going to get murdered in the polls. They don't need, like, this scary one-eyed detective to come around. Oh, Toby's like, no, he's just going to go for it. He's going to be good.
Oh, have you been following what's been going on in Texas?
Yeah, those people are wild.
Oh, they are wild?
They're
okay.
super wild.
The attorney general is running for governor. His wife left him because of his like crazy infidelity, and he's 100% the most sanctimonious motherfucker on the face of the planet. I mean,
they impeached him, and he somehow, managed to...
Well, I think they impeached him, but they didn't convict him.
They didn't convict? Yeah, they didn't convict him.
I liked him until he slapped Margo.
Okay. You liked him till he slapped Margo.
I mean, I didn't like him. Like, I wouldn't be friends with him, but I was like...
He was charming.
He had a logic to his character that I enjoyed.
Yeah, right. And so that the kidnapping subplot that Toby was talking about, Pastor Pete, right? I did like Salazar, the deputy
the true detective?
who had been wounded, apparently because she had for some reason, what we never found out is that she had some reason to believe the kidnapped girl was in this cabin, and all she can remember is the guy that shot her smelled like vodka and cinnamon gum.
Yep.
And so, again, no explanation as to why the cabin was there, why they weren't able to find out, like, who was in the cabin. But she happened to see in the guy's trash that he had a receipt for vodka and also had some cinnamon gum in the glove compartment. So he's obviously the killer. And so he's going to make a getaway with not one, but two kidnapped girls in the back of this U-Haul and goes on this jackknifing car chase. And they open the back and they're just sitting there all nice and pretty. 100% did not get crushed by any of the shit back
The long-term kidnapped girl did not look good.
No, and he had a super shitty hat on. I didn't like
the hat the whole time.
They're like, look at this hat we put
Look
on
at my beanie.
Well, did you see him when he didn't have the hat on?
Every
I
bag.
was like, what the hell's going on with this guy?
He's definitely weird.
What is wrong with his head?
So I don't know.
He's the non-consensual acoustic guitar guy, is what he is. All right, let's do what we do. Let's let our listeners know, should they check out, if you haven't already, The Hunting Wives on Netflix. Laura Bricker, thumbs up or thumbs down for The Hunting Wives?
So this is interesting because I wanted to hate this, but I'm going to say you watch this for what it is. This is a summer kind of just binge watch. Your friends are going to be talking about it at their cookouts. Hey, did you watch that show with all that crazy sex and the pegging scene and the murder in the woods and the boars and the guns and the titties? This is a show that you can't expect to be something that it's not. It's kind of a stereotype of Texas culture. It could have been more satirical in the way that it took on sort of the current climate and our political culture right now. But it didn't go too hard on that. I mean, I think you could see it if you wanted to. I think it was a guilty pleasure, enjoyable to watch, entertaining. You have to suspend disbelief for some of these plot lines. But at the end of the day, I was like, okay, well, that was kind of fun. That was a fun ride. So I'm going to go thumbs up on this.
Toby Ball, thumbs up or thumbs down for The Hunting Wives?
I have to disagree with Laura in that you had to suspend your disbelief on every single one of the plot lines. So I think it became clear within about 30 seconds that it was going to be campy. It's going to be some kind of satire. The plot is probably not going to make sense. The characters are probably going to be ridiculous or whatever. So it's knowing that going in, does stuff happen fast enough to keep you kind of interested? And like Laura said, sort of guilty pleasure, just sort of hanging out and sort of the time passed and it was entertaining. And I find these things really hard to critique just because they're so unserious and that you can kind of find things I think you could probably do a political thing about what is it trying to say about conservatives and liberals and all this stuff. But it's so light that it just if you're trying to find a lot of meaning in it, it just doesn't seem like it would sustain that. So anyway, it was kind of amusing, pass the time. Again, it's just sort of lying on the beach, reading a book, except you're not on the beach and you're not reading a book. You're in your living room watching TV, but it goes by fast. It doesn't hurt. And it was fine. It's a fine thing. So I give it a thumbs up.
Wow. Kevin Flynn.
So I'm going to be thumbs sideways on this one. I mean, I think that it's supposed to be a different kind of cozy mystery, plus all of the raunchiness to it. I thought it kind of under-delivered on both of those things. The mystery didn't seem to really get too in-depth, and I wasn't really concerned too much about the peril that our protagonist was in, about getting dragged into the murder mystery. The sex scenes were not sensual, and they were not super hot. There were just a lot of nudity and some rubbing around. Certainly I've seen better.
OnlyFans.
No, Cinemax.
So anyway, I thought that it was fine. Did I hate it as much as Sirens? No. Maybe because I was still expecting, the sex to get better. It never really did. Or that the mystery would be a little more interesting. It never really was. So I see why people like it, but there are definitely better murder mysteries and hotter sex movies if you really want to watch that.
Yeah. I didn't like this. I'm giving it a thumbs down. And I'm this is so surprising because I'm the one who
always... Toby's thumbs up and your thumbs down?
I always love the trash. I put Perfect Couple on my top 10 list. I was the only one of the four of us who liked Sirens. I really didn't like this. It rubbed me the wrong way. And it was
like Sophie did?
Well, no. I mean, there were some things about it that could have been it could have pulled me in. One of the reasons I liked Sirens so much was because of the world building, the set design, the clothing, the way that kind of brought you into a place. And this didn't even do that. Like I was looking at, this is going to sound so superficial, but to me it's like demonstrative of what I didn't like about the show. I was looking at Sophie and her husband's new house that they're moving into, and you could tell it had like plastic floors. Like, it looked like a set. It didn't look like a house. It looked like a set of a house. And there was a lot of stuff like that where things didn't look or feel particularly real. And even in like a silly show, things should feel substantive. Like I think about in The Perfect Couple, like there's all these great scenes with Liv Schreiber just being like so fucking miserable and like sitting on his porch, like smoking or whatever. And it just feels like it's like a real moment of like a human being being like falling apart. And the plot, like the inconsistencies, like typically don't bother me, were so bad. Inconsistencies in character development. Fuck it, I'm just going to say it. They reveal early on that Margo is really manipulative with women, and then we're supposed to believe she falls in love for real with... It's just like, makes no sense. Graham makes no sense. Sophie makes no sense. Yeah, I didn't like it. It didn't pull me in at all, and I was not excited. Like, it wasn't like these things usually are, where I'm like, I would totally watch this and watch the whole thing when Kevin is out doing a baseball game someday. I wouldn't do that. I would start this and then move on to that thing we should have watched, which was the murder in the national park situation thing. So yeah, I'm a thumbs down for The Hunting Wives.
Change my mind. I'm a thumbs down.
Oh my God. This is like the most shocking rose ceremony ever right now.
I love it. I love this for us. All right, now it's time for my favorite part of the podcast, a little something I like to call the crime of the week. Good Samaritans in Australia are thinking twice about helping a stranger who's been having a medical emergency in public. They figured out the guy's been faking having a seizure just to get someone to sit on him. Dozens of people have said they've come across a man who falls to the ground and asks someone to sit on his back and hold his arms to restrain his spasms. He writhes around for a few minutes, then gets back up and walks away like nothing happened. A TikTok post about an encounter went viral, with people all over Melbourne saying they too gave aid by sitting on the man. There's even a subreddit called r/fake seizure guy reporting sightings. People are suspecting the man does not, in fact, have a medical condition. They believe the guy is getting something sexual out of having a man straddle him and restrain him while he grinds his pelvis to the ground for several minutes. A post says a woman once came to his aid, but he refused her help until a man stepped in. Well, of course, men are better at everything, right? Doctors say if you come across someone having a legitimate epileptic seizure, you shouldn't restrain them, but roll them over on their side if possible. A couple of people have reported their encounters to police, but it's unclear if fake seizure guy is breaking any laws. Says one person, what can the police really do, I sat on a man. So, panel, now that we're on to fake seizure guy, he might change his MO. What will he do next? Laura Bricker.
Well, after all that energy invested in fake seizures, I think he's going to be fake. I've fallen and I can't get up and I need a wheelchair to get to the front of the ice cream line at the beach in Australia.
Okay. That's a pretty good scam. Tell you what do you think? Now that we're on to fake seizure guy, how is he going to change his MO? What's he going to do next?
He's going to pretend to be a mattress.
Oh, Kevin, what about you? What do you think he's going to do next?
Pull my finger.
All right, that's going to do it for us. But before we go, Laura Bricker, do we have a cat of the week?
We do. So I want you all to go into our Slack channel and look at my second cat of the week. It is a very unique cat of the week. It comes to us from Kathy Lansky in the Brichter Scale group. It is her shrimp Barbie appetizer.
Whoa.
Oh,
nice.
Look at this.
It was in response to her hearing about me, actually Lance referencing
it's shrimp on a Barbie. That's very funny.
Yeah, it's very funny. So Lance was mentioning the charcuterie as we were dissecting the peppermint patty caper. I think I'm going to have to make this Barbie thing when I go to the Jimmy Buffett tailgating reunion. I think the parrot heads are going to love that.
Yeah, just put some lettuce on top of the Barbie. I don't want my shrimp tasting
Okay, I just want to get this clear. So for all those people who have pets and have been dying to be recognized and rewarded with their pet dog of the week, your selection this week is a photograph of a Barbie doll covered in shrimp cocktail.
Yes.
And this is cat of the week, or what am I supposed to put in the newsletter?
Kevin, how can you not recognize shrimp Barbie?
It's very shrimp on the Barbie is
shrimp on the Barbie. Yeah.
Laura, do you even know that reference?
Yes.
Okay, just checking because you have no pop culture knowledge before a
I
certain
don't,
year.
but this right here is going to just, I'm going to have to get a Barbie and make this weekend.
All right. Hey, you got to subscribe to our newsletter at crimewriterson.com to see a photo of this cat of the week.
And if you don't know the reference, look it up. Shrimp on the Barbie, a very controversial
Kevin's so
reference
disappointed
from the 80s. Yeah, Kevin's like disappointed dad tonight. That's what he's been all night. All right, Laura Bricker, if folks want to reach out to you, how can they find you online?
You can find me at Laura Bricker on Blue Sky and Instagram.
What about you, Toby? How can you be found online?
Toby Ball and H on Blue Sky and Toby Ball 603 on Instagram.
What about you, Kevin?
I'm at Kevin P. Flynn, and the P stands for Pagan.
Yeah. You can follow me everywhere at Reb Lavoie. I'm mostly on Instagram. I'm also on Blue Sky, and I'm still on Twitter, but mostly to talk about Karen Reed and Taylor Swift. You can follow the show everywhere at Crime Writers On. We're even on TikTok. If you can believe it, join us there. Get episodes early and ad-free and everything else we make at patreon.com/Partners in Crime Media. Our theme song was composed and performed by Tyler Gibbons, and our editor is Livy Burdett, who we love. The EP of this show is Kevin. This show was recorded in Studio C, The Closet, in our New Hampshire basement, where we also never let forgetting our bathing suits stop us from jumping in the pool with a bunch of strangers. On behalf of all the crime writers, thanks so much for listening. We will catch you later.
By the way, Toby said it doesn't hurt, and I guess he missed the pegging scene.
Yeah.
I think you seem to be enjoying that.
Kevin, don't knock it till you try it.
I don't think I heard that guy.
That guy seemed fine.
Right. Let me take that over.
I think leave it right in.
Yeah. All the way in. Yes, I get it.
Partners in Crime Media.